Let's make dinner, a ghetto remix of my mom's Bake City Florentine. The store didn't have no ziti, so I used rigatoni. That's my business. We didn't use any meat because my husband don't eat meat. He don't eat seafood. So to keep it simple, I make a lot of dishes that don't have any meat in it. That's completely fine with me. But I do eat chicken, beef, seafood. Yes, I do. Anyways, we're going to talk about Ruth and stay all the way to the end because there will be a surprise that I wanted to share with y'all. So the book of Ruth starts off where it was the days where judges ruled and Bethlehem was experiencing a really, really bad famine. So Naomi's husband, I'm going to butcher his name, um, Elimelech, Elimelech, okay, her husband decides that he is going to flee to, going to take his family and they're going to go to Moab. Mind you, Moab was not really on good terms with Israel. It was like an enemy of theirs. Back in Numbers, they talked about this, the book of Numbers. He talked about how Moab was enemies of the Israelites. But for some reason, he wanted to go anyway. As soon as they get there, everything is falling apart. He ends up dying. Elimelech ends up dying. His sons, they had two sons, and his sons marry Moabite women. Their names were Ruth and Orpha. But 10 years later, both the sons also die. So now they have three widows and they're left with no protection, no money. And so Naomi, she hears that back home, the famine is not anymore. They don't have the famine anymore. So she decides that she wants to go back home. Ruth, one of the daughter-in-laws, insists that she wants to go wherever Naomi goes. The Bible says that she says, where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. Well, the other daughter-in-law, Orpah, she decides to stay. She's like, I'm a Moabite. I'm going to stick to my culture, my people. I'm going to stay here. And so Ruth decides to go with Naomi, being so faithful, blindly faithful, and just wanting to be, I think, because of the person that Naomi was, Ruth wanted so badly to know who is this God that this woman served. So she decides to follow her. Naomi was against it, but she came anyway. And it was so much reflecting about, it was so much a reflection of her loyalty, like Ruth's loyalty to her husband and now her mother-in-law. So she decides to follow Naomi. So they get to Bethlehem and Naomi was able to go to her older house. And so they looked around, barely had anything to eat, no money, there's no man, no husband, no men around. Ruth decides that she wants to go to the fields. She's going to wake up and go to the fields. And if she may find favor with those who have all the grain harvesters, when they pass by, if they have anything left over, she will pick it up. Well, it just so happened that Boaz, who owns this field, he was out there at the same time and saw Ruth. He saw her and he wanted to know everything about who she was. Asked questions and he heard about her loyalty, her sacrifice, about her story, her faith, and how she got out there with Naomi. So instead of shooing her away, he protects her from the harassment of others and he instructs the workers to leave extra grain behind and he invites her to eat at his table. So now she's a foreign widow and now she became an honored guest by Boaz, who owned all of these fields that God directed her to. Divine, right? Now, not only Boaz is interested in who she is, but then he finds out that it's his family that she was married to that passed. So in those days, the custom were, if your husband dies, then the next in kin is who you would marry. But came to find out Boaz was not the one next in kin. It was someone else, his cousin, I believe. Someone else, but he knew that the cousin wouldn't want to marry a Moabite woman because it would kind of risk his inheritance as well as like social norms then, being that she was a Moabite woman. So he kind of like set up a question and set up a scenario to where it eliminated that particular person to marry her. And so he slid right in with no hesitation and said, well, I'll redeem her. I'll marry her. So he had his plan set up from the very beginning. So from there, contracts were sealed and sandals exchanged, and they basically got married. And now a foreign widow is no longer an outsider. She's redeemed by Boaz. Boaz marries Ruth. She conceives and gives birth to Obed. The woman of Bethlehem tells Naomi, you are blessed. This child will renew your life. The once bitter widow now cradles hope in her arms. Obed becomes the grandfather of King David. Generations later, the Moabite woman's name appears in the lineage of Jesus. Okay? Let us allow Ruth to be a reminder that no matter what the situation looks like there is no turning around from this. Like, how can we get out of this situation? No matter what your situation looks like, God is writing your story. We just have to be faithful and we just have to trust him because he's a faithful God. Okay, so we have to be faithful to him. And faith, Ruth was a definition of faith without works is dead. You can't expect something to happen and you're not doing anything. We have to meet God halfway so he can do the rest because he already knows the rest. He's already writing the story. He knows the end of the story. With that being said, I have some news to share with you all. I have some news to share that God is writing the next chapter of our lives, and I am expecting a beautiful baby boy or girl. God is so good.